What's up everybody, it's Greg. Just want to talk about a pretty big event that just happened in Asia over in Qingdao, China, the South Korea versus China team event. I'm a really big fan of these sorts of formats for arm wrestling. Most of the time in arm wrestling, you usually just see just one guy against the other guy and just rooting for one athlete, but I'm a huge fan of this sort of team style format of arm wrestling where you get sort of the best guys in each category for one team and the best guys in their own team for the other, and then go head to head. Maybe at the end of the day, some sort of point format where the most points wins for the entire team. I think this is a format that I can really get behind, and I think it's something that we should start to try and push for. Of course, individual style arm wrestling head to head, that's always going to be the bread and butter of arm wrestling, but this sort of thing, I think it's a little bit more inclusive. It also allows us to enjoy a couple more different weight classes than maybe the ones that we're only focused on. And I think, having that team aspect to arm wrestling can be a way to boost the entertainment value of it in some way. Who knows? But back to the event, a really big event over there. It was tied in to one of the biggest events in China. I think it was their nationals. If not the nationals, then it was a national level event over in Qingdao. And this was one of the gripes that I and a couple of the other fans over there in China had, was that the planning in terms of the timeline for this event was not exactly the best. In fact, I think this event at some point in time was canceled, but then it was brought back. The national level event just held one day before the China versus South Korea event. And as such, a couple of players, or most of the players or pullers on the Chinese team had already been competing just the day before in their own country's tournament. It was actually at the same venue, using the same stage, same tables, everything. Just one day before, 24 hours before, they were battling it out in a tournament, and then next day having to go up against South Korean pullers. Not exactly the best planning. Still, it turned out, spoiler alert, turned out pretty good for the Chinese team. I think they swept most of the matches, but just having that extra thing lingering over their heads, I think it sours the results. Whether you win or lose, there's always going to be that, because there was this thing and then the results was this way. So in the future, maybe have this kind of thing as a standalone event, or at least don't allow the athletes who are going to be competing in this super match team format to participate in the earlier tournament, because that's just a little bit disrespectful anyway to your opponents as well, if you're just going to be competing a day before and then challenging them the following day. But wow, some pretty big names at this event. Most of the rest of the world probably don't know any of the Chinese arm wrestlers' names, but some of the big Korean names over there were Joo Minkyung and Hyeonmin. Both of them probably the Western audience might have heard about them from the recent Knuckles Up events. And let me tell you, those guys were superstars on that day. Joo Minkyung won his match. I think it was left and right hand. And Hyeonmin only on the right hand, up against one of China's best super heavyweight pullers. A young guy, 18 years old. Yuan Zhaolin, I think is his name. And wow. Currently, I was told that Yuan Zhaolin is not exactly the number one in China anymore. He used to be number one in China at some point in time and held that for a while. Beat the previous number one in China, Zhao Zirui, is a legend in China, when he was just 16 or 17 years old. So, extremely talented young man. This year, 18 years old, going up against Hyeonmin. He went 2-3, and it was such a close match. But boy, let me tell you, the comments on the live stream were livid, just because of a little bit of a Devon-ish behavior on Yuan Zhaolin's part. And But that aside, I think production level of this event was pretty freaking good, from just based off what I've seen from the event, the live stream event on Douyin, which is the Chinese TikTok. Multiple camera angles, referees with the headsets, they had everything, you know, announcers, huge stage, pyrotechnics, I'm not sure, but it looked like a big event. The crowd looked huge. Chinese arm wrestling is growing. South Korean arm wrestling is also growing, and I really honestly hope that we have more of these types of events in the future, at least within Asia. You know, I myself have been trying to push for teams events, you know, for example, Singapore versus Philippines, for example, maybe, you know, top guys from each category, whatever those categories may be, going up against each other. I think this is something that the audience would like. You know, you don't have to just root for one guy. You can, you know, root for a couple different guys from the team that you're supporting. I think that's a pretty good idea. And again, if you're watching this, consider that maybe for East versus West, some sort of team format. I don't know if that's gonna work at that level, but who knows? Yeah. So, end of the day, the results were heavily in favor of China. I think there were, just gonna check. So there were, I'm just gonna pull it up on the screen over here. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 matches in total. I think the only ones that the Korean team won were from Joo Minkyung and Hyeonmin. The rest of them pretty much blowouts from the Chinese team. Might have made a little mistake here and there, but pretty much overwhelmingly in favor of the Chinese team, which is very surprising because, as I mentioned before, considering the fact that they had their national level event just a day prior, it pretty much blows my mind. The fact that Yuan Zhaolin was even able to get 2 wins off of Hyeonmin, even though he just competed the day before, is a testament to the level. But as a sportsmanship, as a sportsman, he obviously still has a ways to go, as you're seeing from some of the clips that I'm sharing on the video right now. But I think that with these sorts of events, more and more exposure given to the athletes, I think we're gonna enter a renaissance period in Asia for arm wrestling. Fingers crossed. And of course, thanks to some of the Western productions such as Knuckles Up also inviting Asian arm wrestlers over there to compete against some of the Western guys. Very, very great initiatives. I like to see more of this happening. I think arm wrestling should be a sport that connects us, that binds us together. I think it should be an inclusive one. I think that the world is better for this. And yeah, looking forward to more events. Gonna keep you guys updated on more Asian arm wrestling events. See you guys in the next one.